If you're serious about starting an eBay business, but you don't have a strategy in place to get yourself to $10,000 a month in sales, chances are you're going to end up like all of the other eBay sellers, making the same mistakes and eventually quitting because you weren't able to make consistent sales. So that's why in today's video, I'm going to give you my strategy that I've used for the last 3 years that's been able to generate me $10,000 per month in sales. I work 20 hours a week, I have a 600 item store, and I'm only doing it by myself. So as this video goes on, it's going to get more and more valuable. And if you're already at $1,000 per month in sales, this video could 10x your sales. Now, I feel like it's really important to have a chat about some things to ignore on your journey to $10,000 a month in sales. And the first one is going to be cross-listing. I personally don't believe that you need to cross-list or try and sell on any other platform out there. If you put all of your time and attention into eBay, there are enough customers out there to be able to buy your items and generate all of the goals worth of revenue that you have for yourself. So you don't need to be doing that. You also don't need to be selling on Facebook Marketplace. I think Facebook is a fantastic area to go and source for items for your eBay business. But again, it's kind of like cross-listing. You're using a local service of Facebook Marketplace to attempt to sell goods, and I think you can stop doing that and again, just center all of that focus on your eBay business. And then thirdly, in relation to eBay itself, I have a big rule to not list anything under $20. A lot of the conversation in today's video is going to be not only about the finances of achieving $10,000 a month, we're going to be doing this to try and get you to do it in 20 hours or less. So time is going to be a huge factor, and you can burn up a lot of time by listing up items worth less than $20. It's not going to get you to 10K a month, so don't waste your time on it. So I'm going to break this strategy up into 3 different stages, and I want you to picture yourself trying to ride a bike. You guessed it, the first stage is the training wheels stage. Now, this part absolutely sucks as an eBay seller. You're making so many mistakes through this period, your lack of knowledge is almost zero, you have no idea what you're doing, and everything just seems to take a really long time to do. The issue with this stage is most people will go on to quit during this period. Now, what we're going to be talking about in this video is ways to get quick wins, because the level of motivation that you get when you make your first sale on eBay and those first sales that you get in your first $1,000 on eBay, it breeds motivation to want to keep continuing. And that gets you through the hurdle of the issue of the first $1,000. So I'm going to give you a bunch of strategies in this video today to get the quick wins, to hold the motivation, to allow you to keep persisting. Now, stage number 2, we're going to be taking the training wheels off, and you're going to be trying to ride that bike straight for the very first time without that assistance. So in this stage, $1,000 to $5,000, you've got a little bit more confidence about yourself and you're building a little bit more consistency. You're going out and sourcing a touch better, you're listing up some more items on a consistent basis, and you're kind of handling the bumps in the road. However, with this stage, what often happens when we lose the training wheels? We fall over, we get some scrapes on our hands, we bruise our knee, and this is the part of the journey that kind of gets a little bit conflicting as well. We're unsure about things because we're still not truly confident. So in this video, part of the strategy of phase 2 is be able to get you up and running out of those training wheels and really skyrocketing your sales a whole lot faster than the rest. And then stage number 3, you're in motorbike mode. This mode and this stage of the journey is all about speed and efficiency. Really in a stage 3, you're doing $5,000 to $10,000 a month in sales. You've got really good sourcing down pat. You've really niched into a couple of categories that are doing really well for you. And you've got a very consistent base of not only active listings in your store, but you're also going to go ahead and list up a very consistent amount of listings every single day. You've built a system that works. This is no longer a hobby. This is truly a business, and you're contributing hours every single week to make it continually happen. But the issue though that a lot of sellers will face in this stage of the journey is just unfortunately not doing things as efficiently as they can be doing. They want to scale their business as quick as they can, and that often creates holes within their strategy that allows them to end up working way too much, I guess, longer than they need to be. So in this strategy component, what I want to talk about is how to still scale to $10,000 a month, but keep it within that 20-hour-a-week time frame and not overwork yourself. Now, I'm going to let you in on some secret sauce that affects all 3 stages of the journey. You can get yourself to $10,000 a month much faster if you can nail these 2 secret sauce elements. And the elements are price and product. Really, that's all that eBay comes down to. You can grow through these stages if you are continually buying the right product and listing it up for a price point that a buyer wants to pay for it. If you're buying in-demand products and you're pricing it fairly, you will win and you will scale your business as fast as possible. Now, a lot of people don't do that because they don't have the awareness that that's the area that they need to be focusing on the most. They look at all of the other facets of eBay and they put equal attention into everything else. Your titles don't matter as much, your photos don't matter too much compared to the price of the product. The descriptions, the item specifics, your returns, none of that matters as much as dialing in and putting all of your attention into price and product. All right, let's dive into stage number one of the strategy, the training wheel stage. Now, look, for me, looking back, starting an eBay business was the hardest thing that I have personally ever done in my life. I have made every single mistake possible. I moved into my parents' place and I said to them, I'm going to start an eBay business and build a YouTube channel off the back of it. I truly thought that I would get to where I wanted to get to within the space of 12 months. Yet I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. I was spending 60 to 70 hours a week trying to juggle the two, and eBay was worth about 40 hours worth of work. I didn't know how to list, I didn't know how to ship, I didn't know how much profit I was making on each item. My strategy, remembering back to that time, was to buy something because it was simply cheap and then list as much volume as I possibly could and hope that the sales would end up eventuating into something that could become a full-time job. I was totally reckless. Now, 5 years later, I've developed a system that's been able to kind of speak back to that period of my life, the training wheel stage, and I call it the eBay Launch Lab. This is a program that I've developed and it's allowed somebody to go from absolutely scratch to their first $3,000 in sales over 3 months. So we want to try and do $3,000 and we want to try and get 100 sales within a 12-week period. So this entire program is developed around the training wheel stage of an eBay person's journey. So we've had a couple of cohorts that have already gone through the process and we've had some tremendous results. And I've been blown away that somebody's been able to get to where I got to over 18 months within the space of just 12 weeks. And a lot of that comes down to just simply knowing exactly what to do. The strategy for that Launch Lab program, you can access that in the link in the description below. And we do have the next cohort running in January 2026. So there is also a wait list for that if you wanted to be involved. But what I'm going to do in this video is actually share with you the strategy that those guys are taking part in. There are some certain key elements of the strategy that we can boil it all down to be the absolute core basics of the program. And the first thing is they are being very, very scrutinized around which products they choose to select when they're out in flea markets, garage sales, and thrift stores. They are armed with the eBay app and they are armed with the e-profit calculator. And I'm telling them, I'm stressing to them, before you choose to spend money on an item, do the product research first. Check to see, does it have a great sell-through rate and does it sell for a decent average sale price? Does it sell for over $20? And eventually, once you've purchased a number of items, are you averaging around about a $50 average sale price? So that is fundamental from a sourcing perspective, to not simply go out and recklessly purchase items just because they're cheap. You want to make sure that every buy you make, especially in these training wheel stages, that the research is done before the commitment of the purchase has been made. From there, you're knowing exactly how long it is expected to sell, and you're also knowing exactly how much you expect to get for it. There's no guesswork. When they come back home, they know exactly what the situation is before they buy it. The other thing is they are listing up a strategy of $100 worth of product every single day without fail. This is a 12-week program that is 84 days, and I expect them to list up $100 worth of product every single day. Now, the smart people in that group are condensing all of that listing volume, which is not a lot, into 1 or 2 days a week. And they are batching their listings out ahead of time so they don't have to worry about the trouble of listing up a product every single day. The next thing they are doing is they are promoting their listings at 8%. Remember how I said sales breed motivation? Well, this is a huge aspect of how to get sales quick and the quick wins that I was speaking about earlier. Promoting your listings at 8% might sound nasty because you've got to give away 8% worth of promotion, but it is a huge win for you because you get that first set of sales under your belt. You need 100 sales to be a top-rated eBay seller. You need $3,000 worth of revenue to be a top-rated seller as well. These are the metrics and the ways of going about getting faster sales into your store. Consistent listings, sourcing correctly, promoting those listings at 8%. Finally, one massive tip that they are doing in their strategy is they are listing that product at the price of the bottom 25% of sold items. So if we have a product that is ranging on research between $50 and $100, I'm telling them to list it up for about $65 and be in that bottom quadrant of percentage. That is allowing it to be attractive, and it's also allowing it to be shown at the top of the search with that 8% worth of promotion. Now, I have seen the guys in the program go ahead and complete this strategy following these steps, and by doing it for 84 days straight, they are at the end of the challenge period, having achieved over an average of $1,000 every single month. They're doing over $3,000 throughout the 12-week period. Some sellers are doing as much as $2,000 to $3,000 per month. We're hitting results of over $10,000 worth of revenue because they are following this system from day one. Now, if we take a look at the maths in this equation, which is always a really interesting thing to look at, let's work off that $50 product price that we'd like to try and average. If you're doing that every single day for $100 worth of value, that's only 2 listings that you have to list up every day. So over the course of a week, that is actually only having to source and list 14 products. This is very, very, very minimal. And I think a lot of people neglect the awareness of knowing just how minimal your eBay journey can actually be. A lot of people will just do those 14 listings on one day of the week, and then for the rest of the week, they only have to spend an hour or so facilitating any sales that come through between Monday to Friday. So even with that learning barrier where you've got to spend a little bit more time on working out how to do things, I believe, and I know through speaking to the guys in the group, that this process should only take you 10 hours worth of work per week, and you could be generating some fantastic money. To achieve $250 per week, that's $1,000 a month, and you only have to sell 5 items per week. So listing 14 items to generate 5 sales per week can get you to $1,000 a month in sales. We now move into stage 2 of the strategy. This is where you take those training wheels off and you ride that bike straight for the very first time. But what often happens in this stage is you've got yourself to around about 100 active listings, and you're now a top-rated eBay seller, having achieved $3,000 in revenue and 100 sales transactions. Okay, so a very quick win is promoted listings. We were doing 8% when we first started with the training wheels. Training wheels are now off. We have a number of active listings in our store, and we are consistently listing up volume. So we can go ahead and we can drop all of our listings down to 3% and literally pocket 5% worth of profit on the majority of the listings that we get, because not all listings are going to sell via promoted, but the ones that do, that were previously 8%, well, that's now 5% worth of savings in your pocket. The next step as well is something that is often neglected by sellers at this stage, but it is actually the time when we need to start adopting this process. And what I'm referring to here is store maintenance. Now, the store maintenance can be something that you just simply attend to maybe for 30 minutes once a week. You could say to yourself on a Sunday night, that's my time to just reflect on my store. I've only got 100 items, so this step shouldn't take too long to achieve. And some of the steps that you're going to be doing throughout this store maintenance period is things like going back through your listings and rechecking your price points. Did I actually make that price point in the bottom 25%? I might go ahead and readjust that price point. It hasn't seemed to sell over the journey so far. You're also amending titles as well. Maybe you've missed a keyword that should have been at the front of the title and it was a little bit further back, and you're bringing that forward to help with the search, potentially getting your item found and sold. You're also running the end and sell similar to refresh your listings. Now, if you don't know what that is, it's a powerful thing that allows you to generate a new item number on your listings. From there, eBay goes ahead and promotes it as though it is a brand new listing. An important point to note there on that piece of the store maintenance, it isn't a part of your new listings going into your store, because your store size is ultimately depreciating when you go ahead and amend the price to create a new item number. So you've got to make an amendment in some way before you go ahead and end and sell similar. That kicks the new item number into gear, but it doesn't include a new value of fresh listings into your store. You've still got to list that quantity that you've set for yourself. The other one as well is you're lowering the price on the most watched items. If you drop your price by 5%, eBay is going to alert all of the watchers in your watch list that you've gone ahead and dropped the price. They were previously interested in at some stage, so going ahead and dropping that price once a week is going to entice those watchers to come through and make the purchase. Now, this whole store maintenance process does a ton of work in stirring up your store, getting a bunch of impressions and page views and ultimately sales on your listings. And a lot of people don't realize it. They don't think it's important because they don't see the inner workings and the results of doing this on the back end. But I can tell you right now through experience that I've obviously started to do do over the last couple of years. I wish that I was doing this when I only had $1,000 worth of sales next to my name, because I would have sped up the process and been able to get a lot of listings sold in a much quicker time frame. So store maintenance, it's going to be crucial for you in this stage of the journey once you've got about 100 sales or 100 listings next to your name. You're also going to list more, right? So initially we were only doing that sort of $100 a day. You're going to say to yourself, look, I really want to grow to $1,000 to $5,000 worth of revenue here. How are we going to do that? We're going to list more items, but I don't want you to go out and do what I spoke about before that causes burnout. I want you to keep it very, very tight, still stick to the processes of what is a great item, and only increase the numbers to maybe $150 to $200 per day. You don't need to exceed that. And once you've got that draft bank built out to 7 to 14 days, this is where you bring a sourcing band into the equation. A lot of people in their first couple of months never stop sourcing, but stopping sourcing is the biggest thing that's going to improve your cash flow. And at this point in the journey, you want to be making sure that you're moving your money as much as you're moving your products. And a great way to halt the expense of your eBay business is by halting the sourcing of your eBay business. So you're going to have to work on that metric of 7 to 14 days worth of a draft bank, build that out at $200 a day at max during this stage. And then once you cap out and you've got enough stock to hit that 14 days worth of a draft bank, you're on a sourcing ban. You don't source again until at least 7 days into that draft bank has been utilized. And then from there, you're going to be much more efficient because the time it takes to go out and source is going to be taken away from you. So it's going to be a really crucial step. It's going to be a tough one, but if you're serious about growing a business and generating some significant profit to make it your thing, make it your earnings, you got to cut the fun stuff every once in a while and do the stuff that matters. So that's going to be really important, balancing cash flow. But the maths on this situation, let's break it down. We're going to continue with that $50 average sale price that we're always gunning for. If you're doing $200 a day worth of a strategy in this part of the equation, which I think you should be doing, or at least aiming for, you're going to be listing up 28 items per week. Now, personally for me, I still think 28 items, if you were dead serious about this, you could list up 28 items in a day. You could do it, and you know you could do it. It might take you 3 to 4 to 5 hours on a Sunday afternoon, but if you say to yourself, I've got a busy 9 to 5 life, I'm working a very busy job, I'm trying to scale my eBay business, with this eBay side hustle, Sunday Arvo's my day. I'm going to put a movie on, sit down, list some items, whack some YouTube video on, put some music on, and go into grind mode for 3 to 5 hours and literally scale my entire week's worth of listings in one session. You can do that. And a lot of people don't, and they find that they break holes in their listing consistency, and then the sales completely break down as a result of that as well. So just nail that batch listing. It's going to help you out significantly. And then as well, from a dollars and cents perspective, financially, to achieve $1,250 a week, that's $5,000 a month in sales that we're aiming for. You only have to sell 25 items. 25 items a week to get out the door for you to be able to generate $5,000 in sales. Now, $5,000 in sales, let's work off a 40% profit margin, because that's typically what an eBay business generates. 40% margin on $5,000 worth of revenue. You can be making $2,000 in clean profit for yourself just by doing $200 a day worth of active listings. And I truly do believe in this stage 2, you could be doing this in 10 hours worth of work a week. 3 to 5 hours to go out there and list that entire week's worth of listing. It might take you an hour a day, Monday to Friday. That's 5 hours to do your shipping. So that gets you up to about 8 or 9 hours. You go out and source for a couple of hours at your local flea market. That continuation of a backlog of stock with maybe a Facebook Marketplace pickup throughout the week. 10 to 12 hours a week, I believe you could run this and generate for yourself $5,000 a month if you chose to do it effectively and focus on the right things that we're talking about right here. So $2,000 a month for 10 hours worth of work a week, I think that's pretty good numbers. Which brings us now up to stage 3. The motorbike stage. Like I said, this is all about speed. This is doing everything as efficiently as you can, generating more sales than you've ever generated before, and getting yourself to that magical milestone of $10,000 a month. Now, I've been sitting in this bracket for the last 3 years, and just last month in September, we generated $13,500. We exceeded the $10,000 goal that we have for ourselves, and this is doing no more than 20 hours worth of work a week. But often what goes wrong is we end up trying to scale it. We've got a 9 to 5 job, and again, just like stage 2, we spend way too much time focusing on the wrong things. We ended up burning out, and we can't survive the sustain of trying to grow and scale to generate more sales for ourselves. So this is where it's going to be really crucial to avoid the steps of burnout that are no doubt going to come into the equation if you don't follow these steps. So let's start with the conversation around listing. You're obviously going to have to list much more than $200 a day to get to $10,000 a month. And the number that I think you need to be aiming for is $400 worth of listing value into your store on a consistent basis every single day. We've done this for the last 12 months and we've generated over $100,000 worth of revenue. I know this works, but what breaks down is product selection and trying to go out there and find anything that can get yourself to $400. It's not about that. It's needing to put the systems in place that we're about to talk about that still allows you to put in those $50 average sale price products that it ends up netting you $400 worth of active listings. The first thing that is really going to help you is building connections. Building connections for me has been done in a unique way. Right? Like I've had a YouTube channel from day one in my parents' place, as I spoke to you about. So I've actually built out a network of connections that are people that I've never even met. But I get messages all the time from people saying, hey Matt, I've got tubs of DVDs, I've got a stack of video games. If you want some Pokemon cards, I've got those too. And I'm getting oodles of opportunity to source and sell stock through my connections here on YouTube. Now, does that mean that because you don't have a YouTube channel, you can't build any connections? Well, absolutely not. Anything in business is built through connections and network. And that does not mean that you can't go and do that yourself. I'm talking the lady at the grocery store, your hairdresser, your family, anybody that you could think of and have a communication, have a conversation with to say, hey, I'm selling on eBay. If you have any stock, I am willing to buy it because I'm trying to grow this thing. Getting yourself away from thrift stores is actually going to be the secret sauce for you to be able to scale. Maybe it's some wholesale connections that you've got that you're going to get a pallet of goods sent in on a monthly basis. That is going to allow you to simply sit back and list up your product on a consistent basis. Traipsing around thrift stores Monday to Friday to try and pull in $400 worth of stock on a consistent basis is the fastest way to fail as an eBay seller. You need to stop doing that. You need to get out of the routine of thinking that that's the way it works. You need to build connections, have a network of people in the background that are helping you facilitate the goals that you've got for yourself. Which over the course of a week is $2,800 worth of product that you need to find, list, and sell. So it's going to be a task. And the only way you're going to get there is by building out a connection base of people that are going to be able to assist. But who are these people? This is the other thing that you've got to have set in place before you go out and try and build connections, and that is niching. Niching down into a number of products that are your products. Right now behind me, I have video games, I have DVDs, and I have Pokemon cards. I am known here on YouTube for having those products sold in my eBay store. It allows my network of connections to be able to facilitate the products that I'm looking for. But if you don't know what you're looking for at this stage of the journey, it's going to be really hard to build a solid network of connections. So decide for yourself at this point of the journey. Have a look at your performance tab of your most sold items on eBay. What are the top selling categories that are turning over for you? Let's triple down on those products and build connections for those products. That's what these guys are doing that are doing over $10,000 a month. That's what I'm doing. I'm using my connections to be able to source stock and save time in having to go and run around to find these items. You can also too at this point in the journey with a busy 9-to-5 job on the back of trying to grow an eBay business to over $10,000 a month is outsource some assistance. Now, for the longest time, I have ultimately done this eBay business by myself. At different periods of the journey, I've brought in Courtney, who's been able to help me for 20 hours a week. Only just recently, over the last couple of weeks, Kate's been able to jump in and help out for 20 hours a week, listing and shipping. But for 80% of my journey, it's been me building these systems in place. So you can absolutely achieve $10,000 by doing it by yourself. But if you're finding that a 9-to-5 job with the demands of an eBay business at $10,000 a month is excessive, you can use some of that profit, some of that money that you've been able to generate by all that hard work that you're doing and seek somebody in, a family member, a friend, somebody that can come to your house and do the listing and the shipping. Maybe you can do some research and hire a VA and get a virtual assistant to help you. Maybe you can move into subscriptions and have a look at some subscriptions that are going to be able to help the accounting side of it. We've got Flipped-It. Flipped-It's a great tool. Flipped-It's a way for you to be able to save your time of doing all of your accounting by syncing your eBay business into your Flipped-It account. And you can save yourself a ton of time at a very small expense. It's trying to work out systems and assistance from certain people or programs to be able to save yourself the time to not have the stress of working 40 hours a week to achieve $10,000 a month. Because you've got to remember, $10,000 a month is not a full-time job. It's a really, really well-produced side hustle. Let's have a look at the maths. If we're doing $400 every single day. To achieve $2,500 a week in sales, that's $10,000 a month. You have to sell 50 items. 50 items a week is what you need to generate $10,000 a month in sales if it's an average of $50. Let's break it down on profit. Profit margins are always around that 40% like I spoke of earlier. You could make $4,000 out of that $10,000 every single month if you were doing this and following this strategy, building your networks, niching down, listing $400 a day, only accepting a good product, promoting your listings at 3%. The fundamentals. Not once have we spoken about title and photos and item specifics and returns, and it doesn't matter. It's building these systems, focusing on product and price, and being really, really determined around building out that draft bank and making sure your listings go live every single day in the most efficient way possible. You can generate $4,000 every month, make $50,000, $48,000 a year, and call this an incredible side hustle for your business. Now, from a time frame perspective, I truly think that you can go through all of these three stages in 9 to 12 months. I think you can get there to $10,000 and kick off your second year on eBay at that level of doing $10,000 in December. If you start this coming January, I think by next December, you could be at a $10,000 a month eBay seller and do $100,000 in just your second year of selling on eBay. And it's not just $100,000 of sales, it's also that $4,000 of profit because you're doing things efficiently. Now, if you ask Renee how long it's going to take to be able to achieve this, Renee's going to tell you it's only going to take 3 months. Renee was part of my eBay Launch Lab program, that 12-week challenge I spoke of earlier, and she participated in the first cohort. Now, Renee blew everybody out of the water, and she achieved $30,000 worth of sales in 3 months. She did $10,000 in a month in her first 3 months. I spoke to Renee a couple of weeks ago, and I've got a video for you guys right here, which has documented the entire conversation. So go and hear it from Renee. Appreciate you tuning into this video. We'll see you in the next one.